Okay, so here let's finish the second part to this quiz, the second page. And number 14, we're going to evaluate this expression here when x is 2. So when you put a value in for a variable, it's a good idea to use parentheses. So I'm going to put 2 in for x in parentheses, cube it, subtract 2 times 2 plus 6. And I'm going to go ahead and cube first, following the order of operations. So that would be 2 times 2 cubed is 8. So 2 times 8 minus 2 times 2 is 4 plus 6. It's going to give me 16. Take away 4 plus 6. From left to right, I go 16 minus 4 is 12 plus 6 is 18. Okay. 15 we skipped on this quiz, so we'll jump down to 16. All right, 16 we start getting into the properties. And here we have a power to a power, so if I have z to the 5th squared, remember that means z to the 5th times z to the 5th, which is a total of 10 factors of z. So remember, a power to a power, z to the 5th squared, 5 times 2 is 10. 17 we have a bunch of power times a power, product of powers. And remember, b to the 0, that's just 1. So I can pretty much ignore that and take b to the 4th times b squared, which is b to the 6th. Okay, number 18, I have some negative exponents here. So let's go ahead and take those. And if we have a negative exponent in the denominator, remember you move it up in the numerator, it becomes positive. So I take that negative 1 and I move it up to the top with the x squared, and then let's just clean this up a little bit. I'd have x cubed in the numerator, and then I have 3y's in the numerator and 5 in the denominator. So I'm going to reduce 3 of the factors of y in the numerator with 3 of the 5 in the denominator. So leaving the excess 2 factors of y. So really, after I clean this up, this is x cubed over y squared, all of that squared. Okay, so I have a quotient to powers, so I'm going to square the numerator and denominator separately, and when I do that, I have x to the 6th y over y to the 4th. Okay. Moving on to number 19. Here I have some power to a power twice. Don't forget that 3 has its own little exponent 1, and so does negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and square 3 and get 9. Q to the 3rd squared is q to the 6th, and then r squared, times negative 2 cubed is negative 8, q to the 3rd, r to the 6th. And this isn't a very good negative sign. Let me just redo that. Now, if I multiply these two together, I'm going to take the 9 times the negative 8, which gives me negative 72 as the coefficient. Q to the 6th times q to the 3rd is q to the 9th. And then r to the 2nd times r to the 6th is a total of r to the 8th. And that's all that I can do there. Number 20, I have a negative exponent, so I'm going to move that up to the numerator. And I'll rewrite that as a cubed b squared over c, all of that to the negative 2nd power. Okay, now if I have a fraction to a negative power, I can take the reciprocal and make it positive, the power positive. So I'm going to take the reciprocal and I'll rewrite this c over a cubed b squared, and then that will now be to the positive 2nd power. And then just square everything in there. So I'd have c squared over a to the 6th, b to the 4th. Can't reduce anything, so that's all we can do there. 21, I'm going to take everything to the negative second power. So I have 4 to the negative second. X to the 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And then y to the negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And then remember, everything is always over 1. And then I'll just take anything with a negative exponent and I will move it down and make it positive. So the 4 will go down, the 4 to the negative second will go down, and the x to the negative 6th will go down, which leaves me with y to the 4th in the numerator all over 4 squared. So once it becomes 4 to the positive 2, I can square that. So that's 16. X to the positive 6th. And to finish this up, we had to evaluate a function in function notation. So remember, function notation, that's this f of x, which is really the same as y. So we have f of x equals negative x squared minus 10, which is really negative 1 times x squared minus 10. So you got to be careful with this. Because it's not in parentheses, you're going to evaluate this as negative 1 times x squared minus 10. And this will get people that just plug it into their calculator. So you have to know what to do here. When I put a negative 2 in, I always use parentheses. So this is like negative, I'll just put the invisible 1 in, negative 1 in parentheses, negative 2 squared minus 10. Okay, negative 2 squared is 4, but then I take it times a negative 1 and I'm going to end up with a negative 4 minus 10, which is ultimately negative 14. So f of negative 2 is equal to negative 14. Same thing when I put a 4 in, I'll use parentheses, so I have negative 1 times 4 squared minus 10. Okay, 4 squared is 16, but it becomes negative 16 minus 10, which is negative 26. So there we go. That's part 2, the second page. Hopefully this helped you out if you had some mistakes on their first quiz. And that's all I have. Thanks for watching.